here. So hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Ninfa and I'm going to be your host for today's webinar. And we're thrilled to have you with us as we dive into the debt relief marketing success for 2024. So before we get started and before I start doing any introductions, I want to kind of go over some housekeeping rules. So first of all, the webinar is going to be anywhere from 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Everybody's on mute automatically. And we are open for you to ask any questions that you may want to ask. So just put them in the chat down below and you'll be able to answer. You'll be able to ask any questions, and Asia, Driss, Michael, or Jeff will be able to answer any of the questions for you. And we'll bring them up live, so we'll go as they are. We already had a bunch of questions asked ahead of time, so we're going to sprinkle those in as we're doing the webinar as well. And then Asia's going to have some Q&A questions at the end also. The webinar is being recorded, and we will be sending it out to all the attendees in about 3 to 5 business days. So the people that are on here that are part of the panel for today, you have Asia Dell. She's the Senior Advertiser Partnerships Manager at Madrivo. Then you have Michael Goldenberg. He's the Co-President and CFO of National Debt Relief. We have Jeff Valentino, the Vice President of Business and Corporate Development at NDR, which is National Debt Relief. And we have Driss, and he is the Partner Marketing Senior Manager at National Debt Relief. Michael, we'll start off with you, giving yourself a quick introduction, if you don't mind.
Sure, Ninfa. Thank you very much for your time. I am Michael Goldenberg, Co-President and Chief Financial Officer of National Debt Relief. And I want to thank everybody at Madrivo for hosting this session. Very excited to be here today. And I want to, of course, thank our publishers who have taken the time to dial in and listen in on this webinar. I very much look forward to the next hour. Quickly about me, I spent 2 decades on quote-unquote Wall Street in investment banking and long-short hedge fund investing. And I've been very lucky to spend the last 5 years at National Debt Relief. And in these relatively short 5 years, I've gotten to see everything. I've gotten to see the steady state that we enjoyed up until the pandemic. I've gotten to experience the trough that happened during the early COVID pandemic. And of course, the last 2 and 3 years have been marked by absolutely explosive growth that we are still experiencing to this day, and feel very confident will continue in 2024. So it's been an amazing ride, and I'm excited that we are at the very peak of it right now.
Perfect. We appreciate you being here with us. We know you're super busy and we enjoy having you on this. Is Jeff Valentino on? I didn't see his name on here, so I just want to make sure that he's here, or no? If not, we'll go to Driss. Driss, do you want to give yourself a quick little introduction of who you are and what you do there?
Absolutely. So I'm Driss Martin, Partner Marketing Senior Manager at NDR for almost 4 years now. I want to thank Madrivo for hosting this webinar. This is the second one we're doing. The first one was a success, so I'm looking forward to getting started and answer any questions your publishers have.
Sounds great. Asia, let's introduce yourself next.
Thank you, Ninfa. So I'm Asia Adele. I am the Senior Advertiser Partnerships Manager here at Madrivo. Been on the team almost 4 years now, based here in Las Vegas, where our headquarters is. And I've been managing the National Debt Relief Partnership alongside Driss for almost 1.5 years now. So it's been a very fun and fulfilling partnership to be a part of. We've had lots of wins. We look forward to celebrating even more, and we're excited to put on events and webinars like these to deepen our value and enhance our partnership even further. So thank you both. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Driss.
And thanks everybody at Madrivo. Very excited about this.
We are too. All right. I don't see Jeff, so I'm gonna bypass Jeff, or is he on?
Jeff won't be hopping on today.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we'll keep it moving. So let's go to, can everybody see how the poll ended and how everybody answered the questions? So it looks like the majority of people, 62%, have been in this space for over 3 years. Most of them operate across multiple sectors, that's 75%, and then 62%, their biggest challenge is differentiating from competition, so making them stand out and be a little bit different. That's what the most of them have the challenges in. So let's keep a note on that to see how we can help in making them stand out as well. So to get started, let's go with what the title is and what the webinar is really centered around. What makes 2024 a potentially record-breaking year for debt relief? And could you highlight some of the key factors behind the forecasted surge in debt enrollment? And this question is for you, Michael.
Sure. Well, obviously, over the past several years, the usage of credit cards has skyrocketed. American consumer has continued to increase their reliance on credit to survive the inflation. And of course, there's a very high correlation between credit card usage and eventual credit card delinquencies. At the end of the day, our business model is relatively straightforward. A certain percentage of Americans use debt and credit cards to support their lifestyle. A certain percentage of those Americans will end up being delinquent. And you can see this on the left-hand chart. You will see the very high correlation between revolving debt and the delinquent debt. And obviously, once a certain percentage becomes delinquent, a certain percentage will look for ways to help them with debt relief. And this is, of course, where NDR comes in. I will note that, of course, NDR enrolls not only delinquent debt, but also current debt. Because usually a client enrolls a combination of both a delinquent debt and a current debt. So sometimes you will see a client where they have some delinquent debt, but they still have some debt that's still current, but of course the writing is on the wall. So while it's technically still current, of course, eventually it will become delinquent. So that very much explains on the left how we have seen this stratospheric increase in our enrollments. Moving over to the right, what has further contributed to the matter is that the high interest rates have increased the cost of the borrow. We could have put any of the number of rates on the right-hand chart. We could have put treasury rate or the average credit card rate, but we chose to put prime rate because actually that seems to have the strongest correlation to our enrollments. Regardless, you will see that what happens is as the number of revolving debt goes up, so do delinquencies. And on top of it, incrementally, the cost of those delinquencies and the cost of that revolving debt goes up, all of which leads to consumer needing help on our end. And that's where we have seen tremendous growth in enrollments.
So it does seem like there is a significant increase. When there is a significant increase in debt settlement enrollment, it's really due to the rates going up, mortgage rates going up, all that, correct?
Absolutely. Interest rates have increased significantly over the last 2-3 years. And that means higher rates for everybody. Higher rates for government, higher rates for corporation, and of course for consumers. So the cost of borrow has gone up everywhere, from mortgages to credit cards and even auto loans, of course. And whether you own a home and the cost of your mortgage has gone up, or your rent has gone up because it's a pass-through for someone who owns a home. So all of this cost of living has gone up. And this is on top of already high inflation that our consumers have experienced. So all of these costs are adding up to consumer. Life has become pretty unaffordable for us, a significant sector of Americans. And on top of everything, not only are the costs going up, not only is the cost of those costs going up, but the access to credit has shrunk. So not only are Americans getting squeezed on the cost side, they have lower ability to refinance that credit card debt, to refinance that home loan, car loan, or even access consolidation loans, because the lenders themselves have seen higher costs. So all the previous providers of credit are now experiencing higher costs, and they cannot pass them on because of adverse selection. So if they were to increase rates, only the most desperate consumers would enroll, and thus their non-payments would go through the roof. So what the lenders are forced to do is keep their own rates relatively stable while their costs are going up. So the only thing they can do is limit the number of people that they can give out loans to. So you have, in summary, inflation is up, so cost of living is up, cost of borrow is up, and ability to access new credit, which helps to refinance those costs, that's down. So all of this is adding up to consumer needing to find help somewhere else, and that somewhere else, judging by performance over the past 2-3 years and for years into the future, has been debt settlement. The only other thing that I would add is that the Fed has just signaled, I think last week, its unwillingness to jump the gun and reduce rates, which means you're going to see higher rates for longer. So you're already seeing even the back end of the curve going up, which means there's unlikely to be significant relief in interest rates anytime soon.
Got it. Dris, I'm going to ask you this question as it came in from a publisher. They're asking, have you seen debt relief lead gen tactics and strategies continue to evolve as consumer behavior and economic conditions change? And if so, in what ways have these strategies evolved?
So we saw an increased interest from companies who shifted from the personal loan space and the mortgage space to debt relief because of the economic context. Partners are now advertising debt relief as an option higher in the funnel because more and more people are better candidates for debt relief than a personal loan.
Got it. And Michael, for you, how have the microeconomic trends influenced NDR's enrollment numbers? And is there a pattern in growth on enrollments?
Sure, of course. So continuing with the trends that I've just discussed, debt settlement has been a beneficiary of all of these trends. So we have seen all of these costs, the cost of prime rate, all of these correlate very positively to our enrollments. I think a few slides back, there was, if I'm not mistaken, there was a chart of our enrollments, although it wasn't indexed. I think one more previously. Yes. I apologize. I think, anyway, so we have seen a significant correlation in our enrollments and the prime rate, and that, of course, has continued. But we have obviously not been standing still in just helping solve customers who have seen with macroeconomic difficulties. We have obviously been working hard to make debt settlement the preferred option for consumers in need. So that includes several factors. Obviously, we have grown our profile of both NDR and debt settlement as the solution for consumers in need. We have also taken significant market share. There we go. That's so I think that very much shows. And again, we've chosen prime rate. We could have chosen any number of those rates, but you can see a very strong correlation within prime rate and our enrollments. So this should not be surprising. But we have even outperformed that. So we have definitely taken market share away from consolidation loan providers as consumers are beginning to realize that consolidation loans are either inaccessible or unaffordable, and debt relief provides a more objectively cost-efficient option. In addition to that, NDR has worked very hard to increase our profile in the branding space. That is something that we're going to touch upon in the later slides, but I would like to highlight that this growth has been a combination of macroeconomic factors and NDR taking advantage of the opportunities and growing its market share as well as market share for all of that stuff.
Perfect. Another question that came in for you, Dris, to answer on the publisher side is, growth often means challenges. Can you share the challenges you faced with your affiliate program as your company grew, and how did you tackle these challenges?
The biggest challenge we face is to make sure that our partners understand our service. They're educated about debt relief and national debt relief, and they follow our brand guidelines and legal requirements in their marketing assets. It's critical for us to have trusted relationships with our partners, and I think Madrivo is a great example of the type of partnership we want to build. We communicate our requirements to Madrivo, and Madrivo relays that to their partners through a robust compliance process.
Got it. All right, we're going to be launching another poll here. So Leah, if you could launch that poll. We have a couple of questions to ask in that poll as well. If you guys could interact and make sure that you can answer that, that would be fantastic. So internal marketing strategies for NDR. We want to know, how is National Debt Relief adapting its marketing strategies to enhance brand awareness and demonstrate the benefits of debt relief?
So first of all, I'd be remiss if I did not begin the answer by providing kudos to our marketing team, to Driss, to Jeff Valentino. They've done a phenomenal job, as well as the rest of our marketing team across all channels, to grow NDR's profile. Our strategies go far beyond paid search and strong social media. Of course, those are two of several pillars that we have for our marketing strategy, but we go beyond that. For example, we have had a very strong TV campaign for the last 2-3 years, and it has really increased our brand awareness. We continue to further enhance our TV strategy, and we're going deeper with all of our audio video. So we're going deeper into OTT, into radio, into YouTube. These are what we call modes. What we term a mode is, imagine you have a castle, you're inside the castle, and there's a moat around it with water. So you're already inside the castle. You've already gotten there, you've paid the moat, whereas competition is on the outside. And these strategies take a while to get right. TV took us almost 2 years to get it right. But once you get it right, you enjoy a significant competitive advantage, because you've been able to crack the code and your competition has not. So we continue to develop these modes, as I mentioned, TV being one that is very visible. Another one is co-branding deals with large consumer finance partners. So, for example, at Money 2020, we announced a partnership with Madrivo for exclusive content. That is something that significantly grows our profile versus other competition. And by competition, I mean anybody who could be providing debt relief or any other solutions for consumers with debt. So it obviously, pairing with the tier 1 provider is a big win for us on the branding front. And of course, it continues to add legitimacy to the brand. In addition, we continue to invest in organic and SEO. So you put all this together, we have grown our brand awareness by multiples. So I think here, actually, it's a fantastic chart. You can see that today, National Debt Relief's aided brand awareness is close to Rocket Mortgage and is on par with SoFi. And we didn't even have to build the stadium to do it. So I call that a win, to be able to match their brand awareness minus the stadium expense.
That sounds amazing. I want to touch base a little bit more about when you were talking about having a moat. You mentioned that you created a moat around YouTube. We do have other partners within Madrivo that we work with that also are big in YouTube. Are you open to working with those other YouTubers to add more brand awareness to the brand?
Well, of course, we would evaluate all of these on a case-by-case basis. So certainly, we are open to having all kinds of discussion with the partners. And as long, ultimately, as customer acquisition cost backs out, we would always love to continue grow our brand.
Perfect. So if we have the publishers out there that are asking about this, of how else you can partner up, just reach out to your Madrivo rep, and we'll get those conversations going so everybody can see what else is available outside of what we currently have. Driss, another question for you. You're being popular today. So we have another question for Driss. It's which digital channel boosted your brand awareness the most, And which one do you want to focus on more?
So TV does the most for our brand awareness, but it also feeds the other channels, and we like to have a diverse mix of channels and partners. Ultimately, it all comes down to the partner capacity to execute and whether the campaign is performing or not. I would add that quality content helps a lot to educate customers on our service and improve conversion. The more customers are in depth, know, or have a good understanding of our service when they come to our site, the higher are the chances of conversions from a lead to an enrollment. And so that's what make a campaign successful.
Perfect. One of the questions that I specifically like on this that we were getting into, I brought this up to Michael as well. I love anything that has to do with AI. So we want to know, how is NDR incorporating advanced analytics and AI technologies into its marketing efforts?
Absolutely. So let's start first with advanced analytics. We have really been beefing up our advanced analytics. This has allowed us to better understand and calculate value of a channel that may go beyond possibly direct spend to lead exchange. Ultimately, stats show that almost 20% of our enrollments come from that strong brand build. So when we talk about TV brand building, that's what we mean. We obviously get very strong direct response, but over time, that builds our brand. And this is something that ultimately looks very simple on paper. Hey, 20% comes from strong brand build. But for us, it took years of both testing the creators as well as calculating on the backhand where that continuous brand evolution comes from to be able to arrive at that. Similarly, we are further expanding to look into mixed media model that will, over time, will be able to attribute more precisely to channels such as audio and video. As it relates to AI specifically, we are working to incorporate AI assistance into all of our client conversations. So both on the front end, which is the sales front, and the back end, which is customer service. So all of this will hopefully benefit not only us, but our publishers, because having AI assistance in the conversation will hopefully lead to higher conversion rates. And of course, higher conversion rates means higher enrollment, which means everybody wins. And then, of course, on the customer service side, we hope to achieve higher retention rates as well. So while we think there's probably almost limitless benefits, potential use cases for AI, we are initially focusing in helping AI assist our reps, both sales service reps and customer service reps, in conversations with clients.
Have you tested any of them out already, Michael, or is that still for the future?
They're still in developmental phase. I would say probably in beta mode, but it has progressed further than just a wish list. I am not simply saying, oh, it would be great to have. We are actively working on getting something. We just haven't rolled it out yet.
Sounds good. I'm excited to see how that goes. So one of the other questions that everybody likes is compliance and policy updates. So I think this is also a big one that everybody needs to stay on top of to make sure that we all stay out of trouble. So with the expanding market and increased marketing budgets, how is NDR ensuring compliance?
Well, for one, I can always tell you that's one of our favorite subjects to talk about. While obviously it's not easy, it is one of these things that really differentiates us from competition. Compliance has always been number one for us and always will be. We partner with the most reputable firm in debt settlement, Greenspan Marta. They are definitely the most visible, the most influential firm. And every single creative and ad copy that goes out into the public first gets reviewed and approved by Greenspan Marta. Those that are partners of ours and those that are publishers that may use the creative, they also get reviewed by our law firm as well. So all of this combined, we're very happy to report that in our existence, NDR has had no instances of any regulatory events that in any way have adversely impacted our business, and we certainly plan to keep it that way with 100% hit ratio.
Nice. And to add on to that, Madrivo also has a compliance team that they review all the creatives and assets for you guys before you even get
Fantastic.
them. Sure that
Fantastic.
where
The more compliance, the better.
yes, yes. More eyes, the better on that to make sure we get out of trouble. So when it's another question, moving on, we just closed a poll and we're moving on to our third poll on there. A couple of the questions on there. The first one is, how are you currently integrating advanced analytics and AI into your business strategies as an affiliate? And systems like ChatGPT for content development and enhancement is the winner so far on that one. So it's great to see that other publishers are also using ChatGPT to, A/B test things out and see what's actually working for them. I think it's a great tool to use, and the output that people get by using that is so much more. Another question for you, Michael, is, are there any significant policy updates from the American Association for Debt Resolution that our audience should be aware of?
So nothing specific in the most recent iteration, although we did get very close in New Jersey to opening up for debt settlement providers. However, if you look at it over the longer term, debt settlement continues to expand its footprint. NDR does business now in over 40 states. I think it's 45 or 46 states. And if you look at over 1, 3, 5, or of course 10-year trend, with every passing year, it's more and more. So while maybe over the course of a month or two, there are no significant changes, over a longer period, you only see things going one way, which is in favor of debt settlement. In terms of active steps that we're taking to grow debt settlement, I think our previous strategy has been to mostly fly under the radar. However, now we have AADR and the debt settlement industry has switched strategy to take a much more proactive approach. We are proactively shaping state legislative or regulatory agenda to work in our interest. So we are working much closer with lobbying groups to continue to help debt settlement evolve in the regulatory space.
Perfect. I want another question, Michael, for you on this. Well, outside of compliance is, are you guys exploring any significant collaborations or any new partnerships to enhance your services or expand your audience?
So absolutely. I think I mentioned Bankrate, so that was a major announcement. And since that announcement, we've actually entered into multiple discussions with other tier 1 consumer finance brands, and we're really hoping to expand such relationships, and hopefully we will be able to announce at least one additional such tier 1 partnership in 2020. Because we firmly believe that these partnerships with tier 1 help debt settlement overall and help NDR. And they help debt settlement and NDR across all channels, across all tactics and strategies that we market. Furthermore, one other item, while it's not fully complete at this point, NDR is very focused on potentially doing a significant profile booster in 2024. We're not buying a stadium, but we are definitely working on something that would be hopefully a significant announcement that would increase our profile.
Got it. I know this question is a little bit outside of what collaborations you have been doing, but it has to do with the customer's journey. So Driss, again, this is another question that the publishers are asking. So this is for you. And it's, how do new partnerships make the NDR customer experience better? And how can affiliates help improve the start of your customer's journey?
Yes, that's a very important question. So having a transparent and compliant ad copy is key. It creates better customer experience for the clients and ultimately better results for our partners. Our approach is to prefer quality over quantity. So quality sources and leads will always be a priority for us. And another area of opportunity for us is to build custom experience per partner, per source, having a custom landing page, direct the leads coming from that source to sales agents who perform better with this type of lead. So that's areas of opportunities that we're working on to help optimize conversion.
Perfect. So back to you, Michael. Let's talk about the future. So what is a national debt relief's plan for innovation in the upcoming year, and how does the company plan to stay ahead of the debt relief industry?
Good question there. Definitely love talking about this one. So let's think about two areas of focus: digital and continuing advanced analytics. So digital, we are striving towards making the consumer experience and enrollment more digital. We're focusing on a lot more self-service. That means on the front end, over time, a much larger portion of the consumer application is going to be online. That's already available on our website, and we are hopefully working towards that to reach that with our partners at a later point. So that means that a consumer would input a lot more than just the basic information such as debt, phone number, email, and debt amount into the form. They would go through what we like to call extended app flow, so extended application flow, where they would be able to input a much greater portion of that application online, and they would allow us to pull credit report on the back end. So by the time our sales rep reaches out to the client, they already know a lot more about the client than they currently do. So they would know the level of interest, how much debt they have on the credit report, and so on and so forth. So it will make the consumer experience much smoother, and of course, ultimately will lead to higher conversion. On the back end, meaning servicing, once a client enrolls, we are working on introducing a lot more self-service tools, SMS, continuous evolution of a portal, and so on and so forth. So all of these digital experiences will, of course, elevate consumer experience and have them stay on the program longer. And of course, more people hopefully will enroll. As far as analytics, I think I touched upon that previously. A continuous evolution in analytics allows us to better understand where are some of these modes that we should continue to expand into, to continue building our brand, to differentiate us from competition, both in Debt Summit and other debt service industries. And of course, all of these enhancements in analytics, which lead to more branding, will pay off for our publishers, because NDR's brand recognition will grow, click-through rate will grow, conversion rate will grow.
Perfect. I appreciate your time, Michael, in answering all these questions, and Dris as well. I know that we still have a lot of questions to go through. This was a very interactive group that we had today. So I'm gonna, again, my name is Ninfa. Thank you so much for joining us. It's not the end, so we still have to do the Q&A. So I'm gonna turn it over to Asia. She'll do the Q&A and the closing of the webinar. She has a lot of questions to go through. So Asia, it's all you.
Thank you, Ninfa, and thanks, Michael and Dris. I think you both shared a lot of really good context and substance, and I can see just how engaged all of our attendees were with the amount of questions that we're fielding still actively. So I want both of you to chime in as I go through these. I know some of the content we touched on in the webinar, but it looks like our pubs are asking some more clarifying questions. So Michael, Dris, I'll let you both tag team here as I read the first question.
Asia, sorry, can I jump in real quick? We had that last poll and I forgot to say what it was. So if you don't mind, let me just finish that one out. Sorry. The last question is, are you planning to expand your focus within the debt relief sector in the near future? And 79% of the people said yes, planning to expand, which I think is actually 80% now, which I think is huge for us to all know that. All right, now
we hope to get that to 100.
Yes, yes.
I'm right there with you, Michael. All right, so I know, Michael, you specifically touched on a lot of different traffic channels as you were speaking. You spoke about TV and more traditional forms of advertising and out of home. And Driss, in our experience working together for the last year and a half plus, we've seen a lot of social media advertising. We've got a lot of Facebook publishers who are actively running national debt relief marketing campaigns. So the first question is actually geared towards social media. Social media has been a hugely successful digital marketing channel for national debt relief. Do you expect this to continue? Are there any other marketing channels that you expect to emerge this year?
Well,
Absolutely. Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Mike.
Well, of course, social media will continue to be a significant pillar for us. We still think that continues to attract audiences, and as long as it's delivered in the right way and it backs out the consumer acquisition cost, I see no reason why we wouldn't. As far as other channels, I think we touched upon, we think a lot of that TV media, OTT media, that's where we see continuing growing our investment, as well as SEO. I think we really are very focused in this year to continue differentiating ourselves, and you differentiate ourselves with that bespoke content, right? That's where we really want to continue making our mark. So yes, all the channels that we mentioned before, YouTube, OTT, TV, radio, streaming radio, that's where I think we will see more investment. Go ahead, Driss. If you wanted to add,
I just wanted to add that TikTok has recently allowed debt relief campaigns in the app, so it opens a lot of opportunities, whether for our internal paid media team or through partners.
Perfect. Michael, you touched on a good point as well with diversification, and we know that's key to a strong partnership and one that's got that's positioned for longevity, I'll say. So that's a big takeaway. Something else that was pretty overwhelming in the second poll that we launched. So we asked the question, are you regularly A/B testing different creative ad sets? 93% of our attendees responded with yes. So that's pretty overwhelming. One of the questions that we got during the webinar is what core messaging and value propositions can be used when testing different ad sets? Driss, Michael, do you have any takeaways or any tips that our publishers could actually implement, things that are actionable that could be implemented in ad copies?
I mean, yeah, like I mentioned before, I mean, I don't want to get too specific, but really having, transparent copy and quality content is really, really key. I mean, you can see like huge difference from the same source, depending on the copy. It's really spectacular. So really, the more that the client has a good understanding of our service and what to expect with national debt relief, the better the results will be. So yeah, I would really push the partners to prioritize high quality content for their ads.
So the only thing that I would add, first of all, we A/B test everything. So you never know until you test it. So no matter what Driss or I say today, ultimately testing will determine whether something flows or not. But to summarize Driss's point, number one, be straightforward and compliant, right? So if you can say X, don't say Y, right? Don't say 100% of debt, because we're not going to say 100% of debt, and that's just false advertising. So be honest about advertising. Be professional, be compliant about advertising. But I think what also generally works is be different about advertising, right? If you're gonna use exactly the same visual, exactly the same copy, and then one you put NDR and another you put some other competitor, you're not providing a differentiated ad campaign. All you're doing is you're using the same campaign, you just slap in a different logo, which makes it hard for the consumer to understand, well, is this NDR or is this any one of our competitors? So what you want to do is you want to have something that when a consumer sees, they know that this is NDR. So for example, when I say TV, it wasn't just the fact that we use TV as a channel. We developed strategy, a messaging strategy that was very different. It wasn't just about dollars and cents. It focused on other things that can cause a consumer to take action. So think about it from those terms. Be compliant. To the extent you're putting numbers, be very honest and straightforward, and try to develop something unique that consumer will immediately identify with NDR, as opposed to any number of companies with an NDR logo on the bottom, and try to see, hey, can I approach it differently than from what everyone else is doing, right? Because ultimately that's the winning game, doing something successfully that nobody else is doing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good takeaway. And I think as we analyze these different channels, as we look at Meta, as we look at Google, as we look at even these traditional forms of advertising, there are constants, right? There are things like regulatory standards and compliance where you have to adhere to no matter what channel you're running on. But Michael, can you touch on some of the differences when it comes to internal tactics, internal strategies, when you are planning out a Google campaign, when you're planning out a Meta campaign, when you're planning out a TikTok campaign? What are some differentiators that our publishers who are looking to both A/B test and potentially try new channels can incorporate that's worked already for national debt relief?
I mean, obviously, they're all different depending on the channel. For example, in paid search, you're not stimulating, right? You're just capturing demand. The demand probably came from somewhere else. So really, the secret sauce there isn't so much in messaging, it's really in bidding, right? So what we A/B test when it comes to paid search is really, what do we bid? What backs out? When can we raise our bids? When can we lower our bids, right? So that's the winning strategy. With, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, that's generally easier to crack. You generally are looking for direct call to action, right? You someone scrolling, you're trying to create a thumbs up, and you really are often going to have a direct call to action. On other channels, maybe something like TikTok, people are more likely to be entertained. So there, the code is harder to crack. You may not be as successful with direct call to action. But if you figure something out, then you have less competition. So I think you need to understand what is it that you're looking to do. With paid search, you really want to optimize for bidding, and you really want to make sure that it backs out at each levels, and you want to be granular there in your analytics. On Facebook and Instagram, you really try to get that direct response, so get good CPMs and click-through rates. On other channels, it may be something else. For example, on TV, like I said, we look at other things or any sort of attribution that may fill in over time. So it's hard to say exactly this works for that. The point is that we develop a very unique, bespoke tactic for each of those channels, and we're not using the same template for each of them. So if you, as a publisher, want to reach out to us and discuss something, of course we will. Obviously, we can't really go into specifics of how we do it. The messages for every that we do, we don't just take a template from another channel and say use exactly the same thing on this channel, because that does not work. So you got to figure out what the driver for each one is. Whether it's the bidding, right? Is it the different creative, or is it less about creative and just getting the most efficient CPMs? Right? I figure out what ultimately drives it, and then try to optimize that. And ultimately, ton of A/B testing. I can't even tell you how much A/B testing and how many programs we have going on at all times, because frankly, no matter what we discuss amongst ourselves, we only know when it works once we test.
Absolutely. Thank you for transparently sharing all of that. I know there are multiple different levers on multiple different channels, and as many of us on this call can probably relate to, marketing success does not happen overnight. It takes testing, it takes adjusting spend and doing lots of different things. So I think you brought up some good points there. Next question. We want to talk about results, actually. And I'll say, the way Madrivo positions itself, we are a performance-based and results-driven marketing network. So at the end of the day, Dris, you can attest to this as well. We know that's what matters. So can either of you, Michael or Dris, touch on some of the key metrics that you analyze when it comes to publisher performance? This question: how can you tell if a publisher's traffic is meeting your benchmarks?
I mean, we have primary KPIs and secondary KPIs. KPIs. So I think you're probably all familiar with our primary KPIs, which if I were to boil it down, ultimately, customer acquisition cost is the primary one. It's what we like to call CPA, right? It's the cost of acquisition as a percentage of the total enrolled debt that a channel or a publisher brings. So ultimately, we're going to take the total dollar spent divided by how many clients enrolled. Now, what we like to do is go beyond that. So a typical consumer journey is initially they become a lead. So we will look at cost per lead, right? What was the average cost per lead? But then eventually they become enrolled into our program, and we're going to look at that enrollment cost. Now, later on, we go further down the funnel and we look at, okay, usually the first milestone is a first deposit that a consumer makes. So even after enrollment, some consumers, a small percentage, never actually take the step of making the first deposit. And that ratio of clients that do can vary between various channels. So what we will look at cost per first deposit, or what we call first payment cleared, FPC. So we're going to look at our acquisition cost per first payment cleared, again expressed as a ratio of our cost to total debt that now cleared first payment. And then we're going to look at even further down the funnel, which is how much of that debt stayed active 4 months in, 6 months in. So these are all the channels that we will look at to see. And sometimes, depending on the channel, at lead level or even at enrollment level, a certain channel may not look as good. But once they go deeper into the funnel, you see that the customers actually perform extremely well and they monetize extremely well. And then all of a sudden, that cost per acquisition looks very different because you have a much higher percentage of clients. So I think that's probably the primary, is all of these CPAs at various stages of the consumer journey. Beyond that, we absolutely slice and dice our consumers to get a net present value of client by lead source, by debt bucket, by state, by FICO score. So that's something we do internally, where we constantly dissect and demo our clients based on usually age, income, and so on and so forth, and see how well they perform on an NPV basis. But as it relates to our clients, most of our conversations are going to be at that acquisition cost. But depending on the client, we are willing to have discussions, deeper into the performance channel, even after enrollment, to see if those clients perform better or worse than, let's call, the par average.
Perfect. So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, there are many different metrics that the team looks at to gauge respective publisher performance, but the first and potentially most important of which is that customer acquisition cost. So
Absolutely.
it's what was the spend, how many enrollments did you garner, and then what was the value of those respective enrollments. So I want to take a step back. This was a question that came in as well, to understand what happens really upper funnel after the lead submission. So how are publisher leads handled by National Debt Relief, and what happens after they click that final button on your apply form?
Jess, you want to handle, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can take it. So we call every lead that we receive within 2 minutes, and then there are multiple attempts to reach out and speak to the customer via phone calls, emails, and SMS. So yeah, these are the tactics that our sales team use to reach out to the leads we receive.
So if one of your sales team members, Driss, is able to get that prospective client on the phone in the first attempt, about how long is that phone call? How long does an agent spend with that initial client consultation?
So once a connection is made, agent will spend up to 1 hour with a client consultation. We want to make it very clear we are not in the business of enrolling a client just because they submitted. This is a program. Remember, we make absolutely no money at the point of enrollment to the program. So it is important for us that the client is the right client for the program. And that means they have a long conversation, they answer a lot of questions, they compile a full budget of income and expenses for each client to determine if the client is fit for the program. Then they will disclose based on the credit report, income, and so on and so forth, what the appropriate payment and term structure is. And only after that will they proceed with the execution of the contract and all the underwriting, because of course we have to underwrite. So the whole thing takes 1 hour. What this means is we're not interested in just, oh, you want to do that settlement, let's sign you up, right? It needs to be a match because this is a 3 to 5 year relationship. And so it has to be.
Perfect. I've got a handful of additional questions, but due to time, I am going to tackle the next two. And then I encourage any of our attendees, if I wasn't able to get to your question and you're already a publisher with Madrivo, please reach out to your rep and they can help make sure all of your questions are answered. I'll even open up my email if you want to get in touch with me directly. My email is asia@madrivo.com, or you can Skype me and we'll make sure it's important to get your questions answered. So I don't want anyone to feel left out here, but we'll tackle the next couple and then we will close with some final remarks. So I've got one here. Let's see. How do you, okay, so Michael Driss, either of you can respond to this one, but in what ways do you plan to offer additional support to publishers in 2024 to help them continue to meet/exceed your key performance metrics?
So we're working on providing a more comprehensive onboarding document where the partners can have our list of do's and don'ts, like the copy they can use, copy they cannot, our brand guidelines, what kind of creative we want to use, the fonts, the colors. That's something that our creative team has put together. So we want to be able to provide that to our partners so that they can like better optimize their ads and comply to our requirements, rather than having them submit their creatives to our legal team and then having to ask the partners to do edits and do that, go back and forth with a partner. So that's really something we're working on. Provide better guidance for the partners prior to start the reviewing their ads.
Perfect. And this is fitting for a final question. If publishers could only take away one key message from this entire webinar, what would you want that to be?
I mean, I definitely don't want to turn this into a slogan, but I feel extremely confident saying that 2024 will be a breakout record-setting year for debt settlement. So in October 2023, we set our all-time highs in enrollments. In January 2024, we did it again. So I think this will be definitely a record-setting year in the most truest sense of the word. I think we're going to set a lot of records on the enrollment front. And ultimately, NDR is best in class. We're the #1 debt settlement provider in the United States, and we're going to have our biggest year ever. So come along for the ride, and please market NDR because the wind is in our back.
I love it. I love it. That's an exciting closing, Michael. Thank you for the positivity, and thank you for sharing all that you shared so openly and transparently. I'm hoping that it provided a lot of value to our attendees, and I believe it did. So again, Madrivo, I can speak on our side and saying how appreciative we are of the partnership, how much we've been able to advance in a relatively short time, and knowing that the best is really yet to come. So we're very appreciative of all of you, and we look forward to hosting similar webinars in the future. I'll say I encourage all of our attendees, if there are any topics that you feel like are really relevant, really timely, submit them to Ninfa and me, and we'll do our best to incorporate them in future webinars.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So thanks again to Madrivo team, Ninfa and Asia and Leah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity, and thanks again to all the publishers for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks to the Madrivo team, and thanks everyone for attending this webinar.
Awesome. Ninfa, I know you mentioned the recording being available in 3 to 5 business days, so we'll just make sure communications go out regarding that. And if there's any other questions, don't hesitate to get in touch.